Good afternoon, Home Secretary. I appreciate this has been a very long day for you, and the information on this project is quite a difficult pill to swallow. Nevertheless, in my capacity as liaison to the British Geological Survey, I'll attempt to summarise my part succinctly. So let's begin on our most cooperative subject. As you are aware, we know very little about these creatures' biology or evolutionary path. In part, this is due to their location, their overall size, and, of course, safety concerns. I'll expand on those points shortly. However, I am sure you're keen to get a look at it in some way. Well, here you go. This is one of the access ways where we are permitted to engage with Yaldabaoth. I see you appear a little confused. Well, don't fret, that isn't uncommon. When my colleagues mentioned that it was intelligent, I don't think that they've impressed upon you the fact that it is both sentient, communicative, and very well informed about our world in general. There is motive and intent behind everything that it does. Take its name, for example. Yaldabaoth was the lion-headed serpent from various Gnostic traditions. For your reference, Gnosticism is an ancient movement that emerged alongside early Christianity and Judaism, we interpreting shared figures and scriptures, but viewing the world as created by a flawed lesser deity. This creature does not believe it is the Yaldabaoth from Gnosticism. It merely chose that name for its own reason. There is disagreement on whether this is due to its feeling kinship with the Demiurge, or whether it is signalling its own origin. That's all unclear. Frankly, it could just be amused by the name. It has shown an often perverse and cruel sense of humour. Let me be frank. It is very well aware of what we want, and the previous administration has somewhat boxed us in. We could not disentangle ourselves from it, even should we want such a thing. Quite frankly, we need to treat this thing much as we do Russia. While we are, on paper, cordial, they remain a nuclear-armed state who are not necessarily interested in our well-being and whose own actions may cause harm to us directly or indirectly. As the KGB still has eyes and ears in our country, Yaldabaoth does also. Its ability to control minds and alter personalities, a power that has been incredibly useful to us, is also its greatest threat, and one that we must guard against. This is one of the many reasons that study outside of the interface zones is not permitted, and why those like yourself are not permitted anywhere near project areas. I don't doubt for a moment that it would take the opportunity to turn you into a puppet without hesitation. However, it is not unique. As you have seen, we have identified many others and their associated cults, for lack of a better word. Personality-wise, from what we can gather, they're entirely different from Yaldabaoth. They seem to only enslave the minimum number of people that they need, and they leave them to mostly complete autonomy. Missing persons, deaths, and other activities also appear to be kept to a minimum, but generally they tend to focus on criminals, transients, the kind of people who no one would notice and no one would mind if they vanished. Though, as we saw with the incident in Kate's Crossing, Louisiana, they are able to mobilize and inflict significant destruction when motivated to. However, this does appear to be defensive, and they did head off a significant threat to the country before we were even remotely aware of it, so one could say it swings in roundabouts. Even so, they are a potentially greater threat than Yaldabaoth, who remains, at least for now, aligned to our goals. It has also been suggested, and we agree, that given the significance they've placed on this meta-religion they have around themselves, that should the scale of our project ever come to their attention, there could be war. Holy war. Their faith is a bastardization of Christianity, though where maybe other cults turn into cults of personalities and just seem to be an excuse to hump their way through their congregation, these cults tend to focus on stronger, more rigid, older ideas. There does appear to be an extraordinarily strong moral core there, but one would struggle to call anything that they do truly good. Gentlemen, short of nuclear intervention, we haven't the faintest idea how we'd even kill one. And given their scale and location, we're not entirely sure that would even be enough. As a result, we think it's extraordinarily important that we find this so-called pastor. Gentlemen, I will waste no time on speculation. We know nothing about him, aside from the sound of his voice. Neither GCHQ or MI5 have turned up a single piece of evidence about this man, his broadcasts, or even an associate that appears to have even met him. Some of the wilder theories even suggest that he's a Gestalt intelligence of the creatures themselves. At this stage, we are exploring all avenues. Yaldabaoth places great emphasis on the capture or death of the pastor. It is of significant importance we find out why. We have a tiger by the tail, Home Secretary, so it'd be good for us to put all our efforts into this task. If this pastor can be reasoned with, perhaps he can provide us with some levers to control Yaldabaoth. If not, then keeping our tentacled friend from going rogue might take priority here, which would be unfortunate for our elusive holy man. Now, if you'll just give me a moment, I'll prepare the presentation on the abnormals and the destructions of Tir Bendigedig. If you'd like a breather, now would be the time. It's rather unpleasant stuff.